Portland, we got this. Portland, we can do this.
Breaking news tonight. Peaceful rallies and speeches give way to a riot and tear gas in Southeast Portland on the 100th day of protests here in the city. Michael Cohen is back, and now he's got a new book. The picture it paints of President Trump's hatred of his predecessor. Plus,
now we're mixing it, guys.
A food pantry that goes the extra mile. How it's going beyond giving away food and teaching kids how to put it all together.
This is KGW News at 11.
And we start with that breaking news over Southeast Portland. This is a live look of a really familiar sight in Rose City now. A riot declared on the 100th day of protests here in Portland, just minutes after protesters stepped off Ventura Park and started marching on the streets. You're looking now from Sky 8, where some marchers are still blocking traffic at Southeast 120th and Stark. And you can see some smoke still filling the air after a quick and violent clash with police tonight. Now, the streets are much quieter right now than they were just a couple of hours ago. Police wasted no time tonight declaring that riot. It happened tonight in Ventura Park in Southeast Portland. Black Lives Matter protesters had gathered earlier this evening to mark the milestone day. During the day, we heard speeches and cheers, but at about 9:30, protesters left the park to start marching. And within minutes, this is what happened.
This has been declared a riot. All persons must immediately leave the area by traveling to the east. Failure to adhere to this order will violation or crowd control agents, including but not limited to tear gas and/or impact weapons.
We saw tear gas fired from authorities, fireworks fired from protesters, and at least one Molotov cocktail tossed, starting a fire in the street. And in a separate video, you can actually see a person catch on fire from what appears to be a Molotov cocktail. We're going to show that part of the video to you right now. And warning, you may find this hard to watch. You can hear what sounds like glass break. Then there's a burst of flame right there. And then that person has their feet on fire, stomping into a crowd off to the side. A group of people bring him to the ground, get him to stop, drop, and roll right there. And they do eventually manage to smother those flames. It looks like you can see him kicking off a shoe there. Now, we also saw video of a couple arrests. It's too early right now to know just how many people police arrested, but reporters on the ground tonight in Ventura Park say it was a lot. We'll hopefully be learning more later on tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll continue to keep you updated with those details. But today's 100-day milestone did not start with arrests, Molotov cocktails, and tear gas. In fact, for most of the day, like most days, everything was peaceful. This group gathered today in Lentz to march the 100th day of calling for racial justice and an end to police brutality. We also saw a Black Lives Matter caravan take off early this afternoon from PCC. Organizers say this event will happen every Saturday and Wednesday this month, but the route will change every time. Black community leaders say the nonstop marches and protests have made progress, but more needs to be done. Christelle Kumwe has a look at what the 100th day means to the community.
The streets will continue to cry out until it has no reason to cry out.
The nightly protests began in the wake of the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis last May. Since then, Portland has seen 100 consecutive nights of racial injustice protests, a benchmark that comes to no surprise to NAACP President Reverend E.D. Mondonay.
It's accomplished beyond any doubt the need to hear.
The call for change was heard.
During this period, state elected leaders, working with community leaders from around the state, have attempted to rise to that call.
At a press conference in Salem Friday, Governor Kate Brown highlighted new laws at the state level, including a range of bills eliminating the use of tear gas unless a riot is declared and a ban on chokeholds. At the local level, Portland did cut $15 million from the police budget, which brought some criticism. Commissioners are divided on what to do next. But at a Saturday event celebrating the protest milestone, organizers urge that more should be done.
They threw us some breadcrumbs with their first little attempt at defunding the police. It wasn't what we asked for, We ask for 50 million every year until the whole system has been dismantled.
For the last 3 months, demonstrations have ranged from peaceful to riots, garnering national attention.
I'm not ecstatic that this is happening in our streets, but I see it as an opportunity for us to show the world how to do it. So Portland, we got this. Portland, we can do this. Portland, we need to do this together.
Reverend Mondane believes protesters need to work with city and state leaders in order to make real change happen.
We need to have conversations. We need to talk about what it's going to take to make the kind of changes that we need to make, and we need to be saying it together. We're seeing these changes made, and when we see those changes are being effective, we're going to see the violence and the noise in the street. We're going to see it quiet.
Christelle Kumwe, KGW News.
Now, while Black Lives Matter rallies were happening across the city today, a very different type of event was happening earlier in Vancouver. About 150 people showed up to Esther Short Park for a memorial for Jay Danielson, carrying everything from American flags to assault-style weapons. Now, Danielson was shot and killed last Saturday in downtown Portland after a pro-Trump caravan had come through the city. The leader of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer says Danielson was a friend and supporter. Joey Gibson told the crowd they need to get up and fight, but in the same breath made a call for peace.
We got to fight. We got to fight, and we got to get up. We don't have time to feel bad for ourselves. We don't have time to feel bad for anybody, because Jay's not a victim and we are not victims. We are not victims. But I want to say this right here, right now. I don't want to see one person, I don't want to see anybody encourage any acts of violence in the name of Jay. I don't want to see one person go to Portland and create one act of violence in the name of Jay. Not one.
Now, we did try to talk more with Gibson at the memorial, but members of Patriot Prayer told our photographer we were not welcome to stay. Turning to the pandemic now, the message is safety this holiday weekend. Many of you will, of course, be getting outside, and you can still have fun while also protecting yourself and your community from the pandemic. The U.S. Forest Service says don't let the restriction fatigue stop you from doing the basics. Keep up that social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands, and stay home if you don't feel well. And there's another warning for people who might choose to hike.
It's likely that emergency services are going to be stretched a little thin. So to help out, let others know your plans, avoid the closed areas where there may be some danger, park only in designated spots, and pack the 10 essentials.
Those 10 essentials are appropriate footwear, a printed map, extra food, extra water, extra clothing, emergency items like a flashlight, batteries and a whistle, first aid kit, a multi-tool or knife, plus a gear repair kit, backpack, and don't forget that sun protection. For more tips on enjoying the outdoors while still slowing the spread of COVID, head to kgw.com. Well, how about this for a holiday weekend activity? Check it out. Bella Organic Farm opened up their corn maze on Sauvie Island today, if you're looking for a fun family activity. And I know what you're thinking. What about safety? Well, they say they've got you covered. They sanitize regularly, masks are required, and there's plenty of space.
We've seen a lot more people come out who want to have more space and be out with nature, and are staying close to home this summer, and they felt safe being out on the farm, especially with our strict guidelines with safety. So, you know, with distancing and stuff, it's really not that hard out here to do that because we're on a farm, and it's a lot of acreage.
Yeah, a lot of acreage. The corn maze itself takes up 7 acres. It runs through Halloween, but this month, Bella Organic Farms has a special deal for our frontline workers. Free admission to the maze for all of September. They've even designed the maze to pay tribute to all of the folks that keep us safe during the pandemic, and we thank them.